Some of the people are equal, but some of them are more equal than others, as you know.
Yes.
I'd like to ask
well, they're
you...
all infinite. They all have equal possibility.
You would subscribe to that, without philosophy, because I'm not much of a philosopher.
No, me neither.
You see all this, you tend to think that sensibility has gone out of it all, isn't it? You see this whole humdrum of reporters and photographers and filmers.
But
it will come through.
I think there's something, it's always something beautiful about it, you know, because all on the Beatle tours and everything like that, there was always some, you know, people had laughs, so a few of the reporters had a good time, you know, whether they got the right photograph or the right interview, and we always had a laugh because there was always some photographer fell over or got the wrong picture or something.
And also, you know,
it's a happening,
there are many people in the world who are sensible enough, when you report it, you know, they will see, you know, and it's good.
Okay, Yoko.
Voor het Amsterdamse Hilton Hotel trok een crèmekleurige Rolls-Royce iets meer dan gewone aandacht. De kostbare wagen, die zelfs voorzien is van televisie, behoort toe aan het meest besproken echtpaar van het jaar. De bewierookte Mr. en Mrs. Lennon, oftewel Beatle John Lennon en zijn Japanse vrouw Yoko Ono. Het paar is op huwelijksreis en bleek niet bereid het bed uit te komen om de pers te woord te staan. En daarom kwam de pers aan bed voor de opnamen van wat men wel een bedside story zou kunnen noemen. Yoko wilde wel even kwijt waarom ze in Amsterdam zijn.
Amsterdam very much from what I've heard. I feel that this is a very significant center now for the young people, you know, to because they have this very alive, fresh interest for the world peace and politics, etc. And so that's why we chose this place to protest against violence in the world, you see.
We are actually, it's very comfortable. We intend to stay in bed for 7 days and then leave.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I apologize for the long sabbatical since the last deep dive video that I did. Had a couple of medical issues going on that I've been dealing with and still trying to resolve, but I thought I would take this break and do another dumpster dive video. And this time I'm going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite artists, John Lennon of the Beatles, my favorite band of all time. And I'm covering his third experimental album. He released 3 experimental albums with his soon-to-be wife, Yoko Ono, and by the time of this album, obviously she was his wife, the wedding album. There was 2 versions in 1968. There was A Life with the Lions, which I believe was released in early 1969. And then in October of 1969 in the US and November of 1969 in the UK, he released the wedding album, which was to commemorate his and Yoko's wedding in March of 1969.
This is John and Yoko here, and we'd like you to listen to a bit of our wedding album, out soon on Apple Peace.
Now, many people, myself included, don't technically include these in John Lennon's solo discography. I don't own any of these albums just because, to me, they're not very listenable. It's one of these curiosities that you play once and then you never need to listen to again. 2 Virgins is really an extension of the White Album track Revolution number 9. A lot of audio verite, tape loops. It's just a very hard thing to listen to all the way through. The most notorious thing, obviously, about that album was its cover. And John Lennon at this point seemed to enjoy courting controversy. He had the naked cover. And John Lennon, many people who thought he was a genius because of tracks like A Day in the Life, I Am the Walrus, all of the great music that he brought us on the White Album, were really in for kind of a shock when Two Virgins hit the shelves. It was like, what the hell is this? Has he lost his mind?
Who's that?
And if to confirm that, in 1969, when he released the second volume, Life with the Lions, where you had Yoko reading articles from the newspaper, the last heartbeats of their stillborn child, and 2 minutes of silence. It was just a lot of different weird stuff on that album. So I could have easily picked Two Virgins or Do Life with the Lions, but I'm just sticking with the Wedding album, the last in this trilogy, very fortunately. I don't own these albums, like I said before. They're certainly curiosities. If you're a diehard John Lennon fan, you probably want to check these out, but you can do it on Spotify. You don't need to go out and invest in an album that you're probably only going to play once or twice. But the Wedding album, as with the first two, it's like, why do they exist? Were they necessary? And if any other artist besides John Lennon had submitted this as an album to any record company, they probably would have been laughed out of the office. They are highly experimental, barely listenable. The Wedding album is what I'm going to cover today, and I'm not saying necessarily it's the worst of the three or the most unlistenable of the three. Side 2 has some interesting elements, I guess, but if you're not a die-hard John Lennon fan, you're going to consider it all as useless garbage. So the Wedding album starts off with, on side 1, the entirety of side 1. I am not shitting you. 22 minutes and 23 seconds of John and Yoko calling out each other's names, using different volumes, different cadences, different tempos, but it's basically John calling out Yoko and Yoko calling out John for the better part of 22 minutes.
Yoko?
John?
Yoko?
John?
Yoko?
John?
Yoko?
John!
Yoko!
John!
Yoko!
John!
Yoko! Yoko!
Now, is it art? Perhaps, but it's really hard to reconcile that the brilliant mind who gave us so much music released an album of this.
John!
Yoko!
John!
Yoko!
John!
Yoko!
John!
Yoko!
And even if you are a diehard John Lennon fan, are you telling me you have listened to this track more than once? And if you've listened to it more than once, I can't imagine what circumstances you would have listened to it and enjoyed it more than once. This is not a record you put on as background music.
Yoko!
John!
Yoko!
John!
Yoko.
John!
Or music to do chores to, or music to exercise. It's not even music. It is the definition of self-indulgence.
Yoko?
John!
Yoko.
John!
Yoko.
John.
Yoko. And I don't know that it's even all that creative. You have their heartbeats in the background, and you have just this John and Yoko, and after a while, you're like, shut the fuck up. It's that annoying. 22 minutes. This is not a 5-minute track. It's 22 minutes of your life you're never getting back. The track should really be called John and Yoko Waste 23 Minutes of Your Time. And what artistic merit does it have all these years later? I would say 0. I don't get it. I don't. And I know they like to play the clowns and they like to be agitators and they like to confound the public's expectations, but for crying out loud, wasn't there a better way to do it? Now, side 2 is the track Amsterdam. It starts off with Yoko singing, which already we're off to a terrible start.
Let's hope for
It's 4.5 minutes of Yoko's warbling. It gets a little more interesting. It's titled Amsterdam because a large majority of this track was recorded at the Amsterdam Hilton, where John and Yoko had their first bed in. So you've got some interviews with John and Yoko talking about the establishment and the man and the kids, and the establishment only knows violence and all this like political stuff.
And that to fight the establishment with their own weapons is no good, because they always win, and they've been winning for thousands of years. They know how to play the game violence, and it's easier for them when they can recognize you and shoot you. But they don't know how to handle humor, and peaceful humor.
These self-righteous, sanctimonious pleas for peace, whatever. It's dated very badly. I mean, I guess as an artifact, as a time capsule, a moment in time, I suppose. For one listen, if you dig the politics of John and Yoko, it's worth a spin. But for anybody else, it's just difficult and, frankly, pretty boring.
They don't know how to handle humor.
You do have a few brief musical interludes.
Goodbye, Amsterdam, goodbye.
And then at the end, you have more John and Yoko chanting to close out the album.
Bed piece.
hairpiece.
Hairpiece, bed piece.
If you like it, that's fine. I can't for the life of me understand why you do, but if you do, fine. I'm not here to tell you you shouldn't like it. I'm just telling you I do not care for it.
They don't know how to handle humor.
Whatever. If you're a diehard Beatle fan, if you're a completist, I'm a completist, but I still don't own this album. But anyway, have you heard the album? What do you think of it? Was John Lennon fucking with us? And I think to some extent, yeah, he probably was.
They don't know how to handle humor.
But there's a part of me that thinks he really thought the world wanted to hear what he and Yoko had to say.
All you need is courage, you know. You can just go out in the street now and take off all your clothes and just say, peace, you know, and you'll be in the news, you see. Just courage. And if everybody gets courage, and of course they would, because they would think, all right, maybe this is a little bit embarrassing thing to do, but look at John and Yoko. They're doing worse, so I can do it, you know. That's all we're trying to do.
Or anything that popped into his and Yoko's mind that they considered to be artistic. But anyway, sorry, it's a little bit all too brief. I haven't been feeling that great, but I did want to get some new video material out there. I hope you've enjoyed it, and thanks for hanging in there, and take care.
Now it's time to say good night, good night, sleep tight. Now the sun will turn his light.